What's up guys, Juice here with PPG, here with another deck profile from our own Avery Foster. Back with another top. What'd you finish and what'd you play?
So I finished 4th after Swiss, losing only to the undefeated, and then I played Spiral and I lost in top 8 to World Chalice. That was fun.
Oh, so you lost to worst Spiral.
Yeah, I lost to the Spiral that doesn't get to play Resort or Sleeper.
So you finished in top 8, right?
Yeah, I lost in top 8.
Alright, let's get on to the deck list.
Alright, so to start off, I played 7 hand traps because you have to. I didn't play Gamma because 1, the driver, and 2, I didn't like the fact that eventually you have to start playing the game in the mirror. I didn't like if my Helix gets ashed or I get cherries, I don't want my hand traps in hand to be dead. So if I start playing the game and they stop me from playing and I end with a monster, I don't want to always just not be able to play my cards. Also with, well, a lot of people cutting Droll and Ogre, Gamma just got inherently a little worse because the application of hitting a hand trap and then omegaing them just doesn't really happen anymore. So I feel like Gamma was getting worse for this event.
And you chose not to play Droll because people are still playing Gamma, right?
Yeah, there's a ton of people, like most people are still playing Gamma. I just think the card's getting worse progressively. But like, you still have to respect the card existing because otherwise you're just gonna get punished if you don't.
And how many mirror matches did you play throughout the event?
Ooh, I played against 3 non-spiral decks, or 4 rounds of non-spiral total between Top Cut and that, so I played 10 matches total, so I guess I played 6 mirrors.
Okay, alright.
So yeah, a lot of mirrors. Played 3 tough, 3 agent, standard. Not really anything to say there. Sleeper, Master Plan, Drone, Quick Fix. Didn't play Last Resort again. I don't really think the card does much. There's an OTK that it enables where any 2 Spiral monsters makes an OTK by like adding the trap off Master Plan and then sending it off with Last Resort Sleeper to do exactly 8,000 with Decode, a 19 monster, and Sleeper. But there's actually another way to do it, and because I don't think there's going to be any more Spiral events after this, like I'll show that in the video, I guess, just because no one really does it.
And you're still playing, or you're still choosing to go second, right?
Yeah, I'm still choosing to go second, which makes Last Resort, at least in my opinion, inherently worse too, because like having to protect the Sleeper for another turn isn't as important. Because a lot of times, if you actually get all the way to Sleeper during your turn, you're either killing them or you're putting them down to few enough cards because you're popping cards that Sleeper doesn't actually have to live. Because if you pop cards with Tough and Agent during their turn, and then you Sleeper pop, get them down low, and then you end with a follow-up with Mission and this, even if Sleeper like dies during their turn, like they're able to eventually clear the Sleeper, you just end up way too far ahead to actually lose, so there's no reason to have the extra brick Last Resort in the deck. So that's 10 Spirals. Last monster, Gofu. Drew this like once, I think? Yeah, I drew this once. I didn't draw it with any other Spiral monsters, but it actually just worked because I took a Borreload and because I Borreloaded his Borreload and it just stuck for the entire game. 6 field spells, nothing to say. 2 big red. Second one didn't really come up, but I played Desires, so I wanted to have the second one still search. And like having the second one in deck isn't the worst thing because it just will come up. 3 Foolish Burial of Goods. You want to draw it, so you play 3. If you draw multiples, it's not necessarily the worst thing because sending another one a turn later is not terrible. Plus, this card's the best possible way to play through cherries just because it gives you continuous ways to get Master Plan out on board even without Helix existing. This card just seemed like really needed because a lot of people were maining cherries. Wrote a 1-for-1, 3 Pot of Desires. You never look at a hand and say, I don't want to draw 2 in this hand. 3 Book of Eclipse. There's better cards than Book of Eclipse, but this is the best card, at least that I found, that's generically good going first and second, outside of hand traps, but I felt like this was just better than any hand trap because of the reasons I gave, where Gamma, Droll, and Ogre both all have their faults. And even though this does too, it has the ability to just be like an actual trap card, or it can just out-sleeper board, which is really cool. And then I played 3 missions. This mission is how you do the OTK without Last Resort in your deck. So what people usually do is they end up with Sleeper, a 19, and Decode by Last Resort sending this off, banishing it to summon back. you actually just don't need to do that because whenever you summon Helix here, you'll summon the master plan, and instead of searching the trap like normal, you can just search the spell, make the decode like normal, and because I don't play Last Resort, you just add Resort plus Sleeper. You'll have a decode talker here. You'll drop the Sleeper, Resort for tough or agent, usually tough, that way you can banish it, and that way you'll still have one in graveyard to continue playing, and then you can add it back. But activate Assault, pop off Assault, and the card they control, banish it, summon tough, and that's exactly 8,000 damage right there. So the only thing important is to remember to like leave a card they control for Sleeper effect, because like sometimes you'll go tough agent and you'll want to pop, but if you have a read saying like they don't have a hand trap or something of that sort, then like you don't need to pop off, or if you can't pop off anyways everything, then that leads to good things. So for the extra deck, I played 3 double Helix. The third one came up like once, because in the Tri-Gate combo, you make 2, and sometimes they can actually break the Tri-Gate board, but if they're actually able to break the Tri-Gate board, they play like every card they control, so they're basically just out of cards at that point. So I wanted to have the 3rd Helix just so that like you can continue playing if they open insane enough. Also, like just randomly in grind game scenarios where you get hand trapped a lot, it can come up, and there just wasn't a better card that I wanted to play. I played Link Spider, Proxy, Ningrisu. This didn't come up. This came up whenever I board loaded. This came up like twice during combos. I played Ib. Summons a lot whenever you get cherries. It was pretty good. Not much to say there. Board load, Tri-Gate. So like I chose to go second with this deck, at least game 1. But game 2 I actually had something, or game 2 and debatably 3, depending on who wins what games. I actually chose to go first because I sided traps. So one, you can make Tri-Gate board that way, or a lot of the times they force you to go first because like everyone's playing go second spiral. So just the ability to make Tri-Gate board is really cool. And extra deck room, there's actually just like a ton of extra deck room in this deck because there's a lot of cards that don't really come up often. Firewall, Decode, Sprout, Maguska. These never came up, but I wanted them to be there in case they did. I didn't play any other cherries targets because I figured Spirals just like a good enough deck that you didn't need to. Just the fact that your deck is like that much better than theirs, it should kind of carry you. Played 3 Magical Spring, Insane against Pendulum, Graceful Charity is really good. Twin Twister against Rogue, Trickstar, Pendulum, it's good. 3 Evenly, this only went in against like Rogue and Pendulum. I don't like this against Spiral. And then the interesting side deck part. First, I'll get to 3 Strike. This card's insanely good because in the Spiral Mirror, passing's a really common thing because you'll pass back and forth a bunch of times to play around cherries. This card beats cherries, and it also beats Artifact Scythe, which is like really popular. But I didn't side Artifact Scythe. Like the goo part of my deck that was like the most interesting is I side decked 3 Floodgate and 1 Bottomless. Because artifacts became like a relatively known thing, they got inherently worse because I respected people enough to say that they'll summon a tough and they'll use effect targeting your 1 back row, which may be like a set Artifact Scythe, and they'll actually call trap just so that they won't hit, but because they're least likely to hit if they call trap, but they'll know the top card of the deck, and then they'll still tough agent you and just not pop the back row because there aren't really cards in the Spiral matchup that punish you for doing that. So these cards are better than artifacts because they beat people who try and like tough or like not pop artifact cards because people respect artifact cards now. Plus this beats every extender besides opening Foolish Burial of Goods, 2 more Spiral Monsters in addition to the one you floodgated, and you can't have any other hand traps. Plus Floodgate being the better one, it has the application of it beats Gamma because they end up stuck with a Spiral with a card on their board. So they just can't Gamma you.
Also, if they randomly summon into the wrong zone, they could just like get messed up by like on their Helix and everything like that. So if they summon into like, say their extra X zone's here, and they summon into like this zone where a Helix would be, you could just like Floodgate there, and then summon into this extra deck zone, and then they actually just can't ever Helix.
Yeah, that came up twice where they like drone agented and they just didn't really think about it because they didn't respect Floodgate existing because they just didn't know people played it, which people still don't. So like their agent got set here and my Helix got Ash later, but it didn't really matter because he couldn't actually do anything great with his Helix because he couldn't summon, which...
Yeah, they have to like add with their Helix, so it's like very weird.
Yeah, and like, I would have just gotten destroyed if he didn't do that, but people just don't play around this card at all.
Yeah.
So that's the deck list.
Anything else you'd like to add, or...?
I don't think I'd make any changes to the deck, not for this event at least. It was pretty close to perfect, just for what I wanted to do. Sad it didn't work out with winning the event, but maybe next time.
Shoutouts
to Dylan, just about all these cards are his. Deuce behind the camera, always a good friend. Biggest shout out probably to Aaron McInnes. He's annoying, but we theory everything together. Just we played basically the same deck, and we played like the same deck for like the last 4 events in a row. And obviously, shout outs to Pro Play Games, Ultra Pro, best sponsors, and that's about it.
All right, guys, PPG signing out.